the ultimate goal is very simple, and that really is to live in this world with an open heart, a world that's, really full of compassion, full of love. And in many ways, it sounds simplistic and it sounds like, oh, well, I've heard this before, but it's very true. I mean, God is love. It's written on every church billboard, every synagogue, every mosque all over the world. And it's written to the point where it's almost trite, but it's such a profound truth, that we have to stop being familiarized with it and just start doing it, living that way, transforming our lives. I went to I think I talked about that, but I have a student in the European classes, went through a very tragic thing. I'm talking domestic abuse to the ultimate horror, and they had a meeting with, representatives to UN and all kinds of people. And, this young lady, who is not a young lady anymore, but I'd known her very well, was at her wedding. And, for years I'd known her and her whole family. And I listened to them talk, and they have all these political solutions. They have all these financial solutions. They have all these solutions for domestic abuse, and how they have to monitor it and be sure that it never happens. And the only solution that never came up was people getting strong enough inside themselves so they can transform the suffering in them that creates these problems. They can transform that horror that they live with, that creates problems that they inflict people that are supposed to be on people that are supposed to be their loved ones. And that's really part of what meditation is all about, is transforming, the difficulties, the tensions, the problems we have in ourselves, turning them into an open heart, turning them into harmony, balance. Now, in many cases, this might sound like weakness. I mean, the strongest people I've ever known are people that can live here with their hearts open. Because there's so much literally in life that tests it. There's so much crap that goes on in this world that we are constantly being tested. Can we live here with our hearts open? And this to me is the key to any kind of spiritual evolution. And it takes an enormous amount of strength to do that in oneself. And it takes the work of years of transforming things we have buried inside. We have conditioned ourselves to be afraid, to live in fear, to live with anxiety, to create anxiety, to respond, with anger and emotions and, that drain us of our energy. We are trained they were born to live this way. And it's really a terrible way to live. And our work is about transforming all that. It's really about learning how to live on the highest levels of what it means to be human. Because living on that level, it not only allows us to function better, but it enables us to open the door that truly leads to God, to spiritual enlightenment, to a freedom from karma, a freedom from all these rounds of suffering and pain, from the domestic abuse that is being written about all the time today, and the horror that took place in, Atlanta the other day. I mean, all of this is just a manifestation of the craziness in people that's never been transformed. That's all it is. Because if people transform that, they open their hearts, they learn how to do this thing. You know what I'm talking about. Their whole way of looking at the world changes. And they're no longer intimidated by life, threatened by it. They can recognize that, as I say all the time, life is simply our teacher. And it's not there to intimidate us. It's there to teach us what we have to learn in order to grow and develop the capacity inside ourselves to connect with higher energy. So, this goes on all over the place, and it's very difficult. And we have to be strong enough not to have it bounce off of us, but to learn from it what we need to do to grow inside ourselves to change. Because it's never going to go away. You know, it hasn't in my lifetime. I mean, all the crap, you just turn on the news and you are just bingo, just obliterated with it. All the madness that goes on in the world. But, you know, you either learn from it or it sucks you into it and it takes your life away. So our job is to build a chakra system that can do what I'm talking about. You know, I mean, I guess it's not for everybody because everybody's not here. But I think people that simply learn how to do what I'm talking about can transform all of that anxiety and pain and anger and fear into a life that is capable of dealing with the kind of nonsense we have to deal with every day. And it extends from one's family right out to 7 billion people that live in this world. The stuff we have to deal with every day. What alternative do we have but to build that kind of inner strength? Otherwise, man, life just rolls over us. And I don't think anybody wants to live with life rolling over them. But then it takes a lot of guts to build the kind of system I'm talking about. And that's all these classes are about. You know, that's all they're about. I mean, it's not some mystical society of arcane mysticism being passed down from generation. I mean, that comes too, but that's secondary to doing the primary, which is getting strong enough to be able to open so the secondary can come. And I think, I mean, I've had to deal with it all my life. I've had to deal with it, I don't want to go into it, but I've had to deal with it in my life. Trust me, it's been really strange, some of it. But the only way I got through it was doing what I'm talking about, learning that. And where did I learn this? I learned this from Rudy. And how did I learn it? By doing this double breathing exercise, working with it for year after year to build the kind of system inside that enables me to do what I'm talking about. So please try and work really deep inside. And God is love, you know? That's all it is. It's just love. It's the highest language that any human being can speak on the earth. So let's not get that language, you know, full of a lot of static that comes from the lack of development in ourselves and the inability to truly live in that light of love. So please, everyone, work really hard inside. We'll have a meditation class. Question I would like to ask.
I have a question, Stuart. You usually say, you know, please work very hard on yourself as you start the meditation. And I just wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about what it means to work hard within yourself, or how would we know if I'm doing that?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. If you really open and develop the chakra system the way I talk about doing this, you'll know. You'll feel an incredible inner transformation take place in yourself. You'll be able to tap much deeper energies. And how do you know you're working hard? Working hard doesn't mean you force. It doesn't mean you strain. It doesn't mean you push. It means that you just take your need deeper. The need to grow, the need to have a spiritual life, the need to be with God. It has to go deeper. And as it goes deeper inside you, it will demand that you make, a greater effort to go even deeper inside yourself. Working hard is almost synonymous with learning how to relax very deeply inside yourself. In order to do deep, sensitive, penetrating inner work, we have to let go. We have to relax. We have to truly, arrive at a place inside ourselves where there's a calm, there's a nothingness, there's us in a state of surrender. And you'll know, it's just that the way you see the world changes. The way you open changes. The way you speak to people changes. The way you deal with your daily life changes. The way you eat your food changes. Everything begins to change. The sensitivities that we have to life get more profound and deeper. The kinds of people that we want to spend our time with changes. I mean this. That's how you know you're working deeply in yourself. Life is telling you. And that depth of work is completely contingent upon one's need to grow. That's what it's contingent upon. And if that need is not deep inside you and that hunger isn't real, understand, then the transformations, they could take place sometimes in a negative way. And then, you have no problem sitting down in a disciplined way and practicing your inner work. There are no excuses. You have to, okay, I'll meet them an hour later. You have dinner, I'll have it, a half hour, 40 minutes later. There are no excuses. The need is so real that you develop a priority in yourself that says, look, where am I getting the energy to grow like this? Where am I getting the energy to change like this? Where am I getting the energy to connect with higher energy in the universe, God? I have to do it and make it a priority. Where am I getting the energy to deal with my job, my family, the politics in the world, the economics in the world, So one makes it a priority. Then your need is being tapped and you know that you're working deeper on yourself. And it's not like you give up your day. It's like an hour, hour and 15 minutes, basically. And, I don't know where on this planet you could sit for an hour and get energy like this, or even when you sit at home alone to get the energy that manifests, the development that takes place inside one. That's how you know.
Thank you.
And then it's amazing what is attracted in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
So, hi, Stuart.
Hi.
Can you talk about the preciousness of our time here?
Yeah, it's like a diamond, Larry. Look, we're given 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years here. Time is precious in comparison to millenniums and lifetimes and the age of the soul and the age of the universe. We're given this brief, it's this brief moment in time. And yet it's like Shakespeare, said, the time we're given is like a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That's how people use their time. To me, that's really scary. When time is precious, we're given an allotted time, probably predestined for God's sake, and we need to learn to use that time in a way where it's precious. We don't waste it. We use it, and in my terminology, we use it to develop an inner life that's connected with higher energy in the universe. Then every moment becomes precious. Whatever you do, it's precious. Even when you do nothing, you're just relaxing and, it's precious. And we take all this for granted. Everybody assumes they're going to be around forever. I mean, people really do, Well, that happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. Yet everybody lives on tenterhooks inside. The one real fear that everybody has is one day they're not going to be here anymore. And what they do at the time between now and then, I mean, it's almost theater of the absurd. Instead of using it preciously to build an inner life, to develop that need inside ourselves, that hunger to be with God, to have a spiritual life, that hunger to transform life into a temple, that everything in life becomes sacred, whatever it is, the good, the bad, the bullshit, the this, the that, it all becomes sacred. That's what I mean by life being precious. And yet we take it for granted. You understand? We become so familiar with our lives. And they always say familiarity breeds contempt, We become contemptuous of, life. And yet every moment is sacred. And the only reason it's not sacred to people is they haven't developed a system inside that allows it to become sacred. I mean, in the time of COVID-19, it's very difficult to, I know in my own life, I've started a treasure hunt. I've gotten myself back into the art world again. And I enjoy that. To me, that's precious, finding wonderful objects and great pieces of art. And, with the possibility of getting them and, passing them on to somebody else maybe. And I never thought I would do this, but COVID-19, there's not a lot you can do and you got to find what you can do. And then that moment between whatever we do, we have to do it with an open heart. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask?
I just wanted to thank you, Stuart, for your teaching today. It was profoundly wonderful for some reason, and I really, really appreciate it. That's not a question, but thank you.
You're welcome. And, it's nice to be appreciated.
Okay.
To get some feedback. Oh, God bless you, Christine. Keep growing. You're doing very, very well. Keep growing, dear. And the rest of you too. I mean, I just love to look out at all the faces and see people with this kind of, you know, glow in their eyes, that light inside them. You know, it's just wonderful. That's precious. It's really precious to sit here for an hour and a quarter, and just exchange this wonderment with people and see that preciousness, that light, that glow inside people. I can't think of any better reward, frankly, you know? So thank you and bless you all. And there'll be a class on Sunday, and let's keep doing this. You know, this is something, this is precious. This is something wonderful that's come out of COVID-19, you know, something extraordinary. So thank you and bless you all.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Night, everybody.